How do you think 2020 will be remembered? As a unique disaster, as a turning point for the worse, a catalyst for positive change, or something else? Yeah, it didn't get bad until after August. Please no. November is when the real fun starts. The saying hindsight is 2020 will take on a new, more pessimistic meaning. You could turn this into a movie in 10 years. They made one already. It's called Contagion. It's stunning that Gwyneth Paltrow appeared in that film and is now peddling potentially harmful products on her Goop storefront. The first COVID case came into light the day Goop brought out her pee-pee candle. I'm convinced God saw her selling candles smelling like her pee-pee and decided he is done with humans. The year of the pandemic. Also the year where already existing trends accelerated and people lost their freaking minds on social media. Also people have been saying 4 years worst year ever. I anticipate the catchy slogan being 2020. The lost year because of how much of it is spent in quarantine. I don't know man. Worst year ever just sounds so much more over the top, but also kinda true. It feels true in the area of my own experience. That said, I wouldn't want to be a young person in the 1910s or 20s. After surviving the itch that was World War I, you have a pandemic of sleeping sickness, encephalitis lethargica to worry about. From about 1915, groups of people were suddenly becoming tired, then catatonic, almost comatose, and nobody knew why except that it was spreading. It ended up burning through Europe and then much of the world, infecting 5 million and killing about a third. If you survived, you had a chance of never fully recovering. And if you did fully recover, you had a good chance of developing sudden neurological or psychiatric disorders as long as decades down the line. Then in 1927, the pandemic vanishes. Of course you're probably not thinking much about that pandemic, because by 1918 the world is more focused on the Spanish flu pandemic, which seems to be deadlier than usual. And if you survived round 1, then you'd better double down for wave 2, which emerged in September 1918 and was utterly monstrous. You're young, got a crease in your nice trousers and a decent immune system, which is exactly what would probably kill you since the second wave virus turned your immune system against you. So 50 million more deaths later in barely 2 years, you've gotten through the war and flu, and avoided the sleeping sickness. It's 1927, hooray. Now to look forward to World War II. You forgot in 1929 the worst depression in US history, leaving a large portion of the population destitute and the massive crop failures and dust bowl that hit the Great Plains. 2020. The year of our disillusionment. My wife and I used to use phrases like prior to the pandemic and pre-COVID when describing stuff earlier than last December. Now we say in the before times. Somehow the post-apocalyptic tone just works. It will be remembered as the time when we were all in imminent danger and made memes about it. 2020 will probably serve as a rough period for us Australians, because we currently are in another lockdown for 6 weeks after the discovery of G4 swine flu, so this year will probably be remembered as a new definition of rock bottom. As a pain to study in history class. I mean, the children will learn about the French Revolution, World War I, World War II and 2020. That's a lot to remember. Also in like 60 years you'll tell children about all the crazy that happened and you'll be the crazy old person. Kind looking forward to it, not gonna lie. Also in like 60 years you'll tell children about all the crazy that happened and you'll be the crazy old person. Kind looking forward to it, not gonna lie. But you'd also hope those children don't experience something like it themselves. Honestly, at this rate, our grandkids 60 years from now are gonna be experiencing a hell of a lot worse on the daily than anything 2020 bruv. The only thing I know is that there's still 163 days left and I don't know what the hell else can happen at this point. The worst part is that the 1st of January, 2021 is just a number on the calendar. Our problems aren't going vanish, they'll just carry on into the rest of the decade. An empty Times Square on New Year's Eve will be a new one. If Times Square is empty on New Year, I'll be ridiculously proud of you Americans. I can still see a bunch of people saying not going to Times Square is an attack against their freedom. Best year of the 2020s. Good lord, I hope not. We thought that the dark clouds were clearing, and the ferocious winds of darkness were starting to subside. Alas, the real apocalypse had only just begun. Every generation has a defining disaster that sticks with them until they are old and grey. This is ours. You better hope this is ours. It could still be World War III, with China, Russia, and who knows who else fighting to defend, expand modern empires. A total collapse of the global ecosystem due to climate change. Another American Civil War, or military coup, as the consummation of the protests and police violence currently ongoing. Some completely unforeseen bullet. I'm done with optimism. You forgot aliens. Didn't we have those briefly? But the world was too sick of 2020 to care. Chapter 8 of the 2012 apocalypse. It'll be overshadowed by 2021. Yeah, somewhere between 2021 and 2023 I feel like we're just gonna redefine rock bottom. Your username makes it so perfect. So I looked past this thread until I saw the next one man caught on camera coughing on Walmart stock. Well, I thought to myself, that is the answer to the above question, isn't it? Hindsight is 2020. Well, the fact that the Chinese government got exposed on a camera drone for having Muslims lined up like prisoners, blindfolded and had their heads shaven like convicts, and the fact no one is talking about it might be a sign that things might inherently get worse. Who knows? US might step in and call out China and could lead to a war. Nah, America and the rest of the West are turning a blind eye because of cheap goods China makes. Having to do anything about China means paying more for stuff. And it turns out people like things being cheaper more than stopping a genocide. A turning point for the worse. I'm American. Unemployment is rising. No one is taking the virus seriously. This is the beginning of an awful economic depression. Personally, while it's bad now, I'm optimistic in the long term. The problems that the US are facing now didn't just appear out of nowhere, and won't go away if they're ignored. Sure, Corona was the catalyst. But there's just so much built up that ignoring problems would have only bought a decade at most. In the short term, there might be a recession, but in the long term, there might be a better nation. In the short term, there might be a recession, but in the long term, there might be a better nation. All the doom and gloom people need to read this. The Roman Empire lasted for approximately 550 years and was plagued with and survived much worse problems than we have now. Germany effectively started and lost both world wars, and they're arguably doing pretty damn well right now, all things considered. Japan has been on the wrong side of World War II, nuked into submission, and they're better than they've ever been, at least economically. Yes, things are bad. Yes, American people aren't taking it seriously enough. Thanks internet. But we're not going to just get wiped off the face of the earth. Because we're not dealing with the problems very well. We'll get through and be stronger on the other side. Countries and peoples live on and life goes on. Will we be the economic powerhouse, the supreme power in the world? Who knows? Won't matter. We'll be just like any other country either way, hopefully. Doing our thing, day to day won't change much. I guess it depends at which time it will be remembered. 10 years from now. Probably the start of a big clusterfuck of events. 50 years from now, people will probably not remember it at all. If you look at 1918, 1919 with the Spanish flu, a lot of people didn't really remember it that much after it was over. 2020, the year that never happened. From a UK perspective, I think we will treat 2020 like we treat World War II. It will be given a jingoistic gloss of pluckiness and sacrifice. We will pat ourselves on the back, conveniently forgetting the complete travesty our government made of it. A glitch in the system. It'll be a pubic hair compared to the major population reduction events that are yet to come. It will be remembered as fricking it. The year the foundation of the human galactic empire was started. Another year where stuff happened. It will be remembered as the year that showed how stupid Americans are. Or at least that's how I'll remember it. For the memes. As a year of missed opportunity to change things for the better. It depends on what awaits us in 2021. If this year is relatively usual as 2019 was, we will remember 2020 a horrible time of lockdowns, empty streets, rotting in stagnation economics, and closed borders, and burning Australian bushes, and the increasing likelihood of WW3 between the USA and Iran, and Black Lives Matter rebellions and uprisings in the US and Europe. Yes, 2020 is definitely not a good year to live in. However, if 2021 breaks this 2020 bar of trash by a real world war or apocalypse, we just won't remember 2020 as we won't be alive. Anyway, 2020 still has 5 months to show us what it has up its sleeve. Thanks for watching the Reddit Radio. If you liked this video, please subscribe and click the like button. Click the top video to see my latest upload, and the bottom video is a random selection pick to interest you.